On the evening of July 10, 2019, in Taipei, Taiwan, two men carrying hiking bags came to a row of ATMs and prepared to withdraw some cash. However, they neither inserted their bank cards nor performed any operations to withdraw money. They just waited in front of the machine. Then the machine began to spit out thousands of banknotes, and the banknotes were literally flying everywhere. They just picked up the money and stuffed it into their backpacks and fled the scene that night. They went to 22 different ATMs and withdrew hundreds of thousands of dollars. All they had to do was get to the ATMs at a certain time and the machines would obey their commands. In the space of a week, the two men went to 41 ATMs. Millions of dollars were harvested from hacked ATM machines. And this ATM hacking incident in Taiwan is just the tip of the iceberg. These hackers have penetrated the networks of hundreds of banks and financial institutions in 30 countries, allowing them to steal more than $1.2 billion. Here is how they committed the crime. In early August 2015, a bank employee at one of Europe's largest banks received an email from a high-value customer stating that there had been activity on their account and that the account balance under audit did not match the customer's. They even attached an Excel file to the email for the bank employee to review to prove that the employee read the email with a high sense of responsibility. He quickly opened the file and wanted to see the content of the customer's complaint. However, when he opened the file, he saw a chart with a bunch of numbers and a lot of inexplicable garbled characters that he couldn't understand at all. He ignored the file that day and planned to look at it again the next day. But what he just did was tantamount to a wild wolf entering the house and letting an extremely dangerous malware. The virus entered his computer after the bank shift ended and everyone left. The virus began its covert operation. It lurked in his computer but quickly began to spread to the entire network of computers connected to the server. And this little virus didn't target just that innocent employee's computer. It was looking for a special system. A system that can control all other carefully poked. He also tried to gain authorized access to the server pre-controller and other network resources. In short, it was the administrator computer. But even for an extremely dangerous malware, finding the administrator computer was not a problem. The bank's corporate network has thousands of devices interacting with each other. Connections are made from phones, computers, printers, servers to other network resources, and the virus is designed to avoid detection while collecting information. This requires it to be run slowly and carefully. However, after weeks of monitoring, the virus has finally gained access to the administrator's PC. The malware is now starting to run on the administrator's computer. He was rapidly opening and closing hundreds of background applications which were slowing down the system badly. To solve the problem, the supervisor who was managing the administrator's PC called the IT department and asked them to check his computer. An IT staff came to the administrator's PC and asked him to reboot and log in again. The malware was waiting for this moment to happen. The supervisor re-entered his username and password so IT could start troubleshooting the problem. As he entered his credentials, the virus captured every keystroke on the keyboard, essentially giving the credential information to the virus. This gave the virus complete control over the administrator's network. Personnel P tried to figure out the problem and even ran antivirus software to detect any infections but found nothing suspicious and then left. For the next 3 to 8 months, the virus lurked on the administrator's PC, monitoring every operation of the bank from international wire transfers to local transactions, and withdrawals and even emails. However, at this stage in reading, it is not possible to control any operations or execute instructions. Can only observe to gain operational control. The virus needs access to the most important elements of the entire network. The controller DC precontroller is like the brain that controls and executes everything. He even has the authority to move the physical components inside the ATM machine CC. The TV camera even opens and closes the security door. Once the virus has gained access to the controller, it's time to make money. On July 8, 2016, two men, Hiljali left directly and Laud nor Bachmann labored to measure specific ATM centralized withdrawals. They rented a car and drove to the city. At the first target location in the city, they jumped out of the car and walked to an ATM machine. After waiting for a few seconds, The AT&T spit out a large amount of cash without any instructions from them. Banknotes were flying everywhere. They quickly collected the money and put it in their backpacks and drove to the next location. Over the course of a week, they were hacked from 41 machines. More than $2 million was obtained from hacked ATMs. Once their mission was completed, they headed to Taipei's main train station and placed the bags filled with cash into lockers at the station. After a while, 2 other men came to the station and took away Sergei and Vladimir. There could have been a mistake here because of Loudermore Berkman. The bag was left behind and then left. This operation not only took place in Taiwan, but also in Ukraine, Russia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, and parts of Western Europe. At this time, the hackers had already obtained $1 by simply controlling the ATM machine. However, after this initial success, they became a little greedy. Obtained $1 from the book. However, after this initial success, they became a little greedy. Now they want to make more, reaching hundreds of millions of dollars. You see, the number of hackers who carried out this cyber operation is limited, and the amount of money they can steal through remote operations is also limited. If they really want to make billions, they will need a larger team to further expand the scale of the operation. But they cannot directly let ordinary people become cyber criminals. They need a cover, so they created a fake IT organization named Thunder Fortress Security. With a corporate image that looked completely legitimate, they had a professional-looking website, a formal HR department responsible for recruiting, and all the other important departments to make the organization look as legitimate as possible. After the company was established, they started posting job postings on the website looking for capable IP professionals and offering extremely generous salary packages. They also conducted one-on-one interviews to screen candidates. In addition, they also provided additional benefits such as health insurance bonuses and even flexible working methods such as working from home. For most of the applicants, the benefits were unbelievable, but no one actually doubted the legitimacy of the company and their role in the scheme. They ended up hiring over 60 people, who unknowingly began working for one of the most sophisticated cybercriminal organizations in the world. Once the hackers had assembled a full team, they started doing what banks would do on a day-to-day basis, handling international wires, local transactions, and checking account balances. They were just imitating what a bank does every day to avoid arousing suspicion. But there is one difference. They not only manage the customer database but also add abnormal balances to customer accounts to make it look like there is a numerical error in the system. In many cases, a customer's original account balance of $4,000 will suddenly increase to $50,000 or $200,000 in the middle of the night. In the morning, the hackers will transfer the excess balance to their own accounts. The affected customers will not complain because their original balance is still intact, and the hackers are smart enough not to increase the account balance. It was so outrageous that it aroused suspicion. Thousands of accounts in multiple countries had their balances increased in small increments every day. These operations basically made hackers millionaires every day. Until one night, the head of the IT department was working overtime while performing routine security maintenance work. He was looking at the time log of uController. What he saw shocked him. He discovered that uController was sending encrypted data to China. He immediately realized that uController had been compromised. He called Kaspersky Cosplay. The head of cybersecurity asked him to drive to the bank immediately. The head of cybersecurity asked the IT director to share the details on the phone, but the IT director replied that he could not do it because he suspected that even the phone could be tapped. At 3 a.m. the confused cybersecurity head got in the car and drove to the bank not knowing that the gates of hell had been opened. Inside the bank, the IT director and the head of cybersecurity began to notice that the controller was executing commands on its own and opening applications. It is very unusual behavior for a computer to do such an operation on its own. In order to verify their speculation about the invasion of the Moon controller device, they opened a simple Word document and typed hello. Obviously, a computer will not reply by itself unless it replies to the C. You can't catch us. When they received this reply, they immediately understood what was wrong with their network. Word spread around the world that a hacker group known as Rikabanaka had invaded financial institutions and taken complete control of their operations. Now tracking and unraveling this group became their only priority. You see, even realizing their bank had been compromised. Finding the Cabernet malware in the system was an impossible task. The virus was so complex that even traditional antivirus software couldn't find it anywhere on the system. First of all, the virus used a technique called process masquerading. Disguising itself as exploit.com, these are normal entries that will appear in the task manager. Secondly, he adopted the method of tight memory execution, which means that the malware runs completely in the memory and leaves no trace on the hard disk. At that time, even the most sophisticated antivirus software could only scan the hard disk, which made the virus completely undetectable. There was no way to know who the people behind Cabernet were and where they were operating. They basically had to wait desperately for a miracle to happen. July 2, 2016 in Taipei, Taiwan. Do you still remember the two cashiers who were assigned to get millions of dollars from hacked ATM machines in the city? Guess what happened one night during their operation? When they were waiting for the ATM machine to pop out the cash, a Taiwanese citizen suddenly appeared behind them. This citizen also came to withdraw money. However, when the two cashiers realized that someone was standing behind them, they panicked and fled the scene without picking up the money that the ATM machine had spit out, proving that Taiwanese citizens can take the money themselves. But he didn't. Instead, he called the Taipei Police Department and informed them that the ATM was spitting out the front and he saw two men in masks and in drag fleeing the scene. The Taipei police already knew that banks all over the world had been hacked, so they launched an investigation. They linked this strange ATMs glitch to the Cabernet organization, and they were right. The police tracked all the ATMs in the city and parked next to an ATM. They found an ID card on the ground. The ID belonged to a man named Sergei Rozovsky. Police identified the hotel where he was staying, but they realized he had escaped to Russia. It wasn't until days later that police found a CCTV footage showing his accomplice Vladimir Berkman, carrying a backpack full of cash at Taipei train station. Police finally had their first clue. The manhunt officially began, which could eventually lead them to the four suspects in the Cabernet cyber theft. Vladimir Berkman left the backpack at the station. Two other men arrived, took the backpack and headed to the hotel. Police used a large number of people scattered around the city. Surveillance cameras tracked their location, and over $1.5 million was found hidden in their hotel room. They were immediately arrested by the Taipei police. The two men's names were Nikolai Penko Nikolakenko and Mikhail Klebaba. Tomorrow there are considerations for Daddy. The two suspects were interrogated extensively at the police station. Eventually they identified Andreas Pergadov, the leader of their gang. They told the police that Volgodov was still in Taipei and was evading the police. A few days later the police captured Andreas Pergadov. He also hid millions of dollars in a mountainous area in Dahu Park. After capturing Puagadov, a gang member, the police checked his mobile phone to find more clues related to the Cabernet theft. Eventually they found a name Dennis that could be DNS matched. The police thought it was just another contact or a money-collecting man like Penko or Koli Baba. But they soon realized that Dennis could be none other than the mastermind behind the entire Cabernet network. Now the Taiwanese police urgently need the help of the international community to hunt down Denisko. Interpol, ANCHUL, the United States, FBI, FDI, Europol, Yoyopo, and dozens of other international agencies all took action to find this person. Suddenly Denisko became the most wanted person in the world. In 2018, ATM machines in Spain suddenly started spitting out cash like those in Taipei. There was no doubt that the international authorities had linked him to the Cabernet organization. Then they got a tip from the Spanish authorities. Nice could be in the port city of Alicante, or in the luxury hotel. After living, they flew to Alicat. They tracked his possible hiding place in the city and conducted surveillance. He lived there in a luxurious house, drove a luxury car and had a famous watch. Of course, his laptop was casually placed on the table. Inside was 15,000 bitcoins worth $165 million. Tongmu of the Cabernet organization was finally captured. The banking system improved their network security measures and was out of danger. However, the Cabernet organization is still active today. They disguise themselves as angry customers and are still sending phishing emails.